I woke up to a crime scene in my backyard. My prize-winning watermelon, the one I had nurtured like a newborn, whispered encouragement to, and protected from squirrels like it was the last fruit on earth, was gone. Not just eaten, not just nibbled on, but completely, utterly, and mercilessly stolen. At first, I thought maybe it had rolled away. Maybe some freak accident had sent it tumbling down the street. But then I saw it. The broken vine, ripped apart like a crime of passion. My stomach dropped. Someone had taken it. Someone had dared to steal the greatest watermelon this neighborhood had ever seen. And I had a sinking feeling I knew exactly who it was. Karen. She lived across the street, always poking her nose where it didn't belong, always complaining about something trivial, always acting like the queen of the cul-de-sac. She had once tried to claim that the sidewalk in front of my house was technically her property. She had called the cops on kids for loitering when they were just waiting for the ice cream truck. She had even once stolen a neighbor's Amazon package and then had the audacity to tell them they must have entered the wrong address. And now, she had moved on to agricultural crimes. I sprinted inside, my mind racing with theories. Had she eaten it already? Was she taking pictures with it, gloating in some evil underground watermelon ring? I yanked my phone from the charger and pulled up the security camera app. My heart pounded as I rewound the footage to last night. And there she was, 2:07 a.m., Karen sneaking into my yard like a raccoon in human form. She wore a robe, slippers, and the same smug expression she always had when getting away with something. But this time, she wasn't just stealing a package or leaving a nasty note on someone's car. She was hauling away my watermelon like a thief in the night, wobbling as she struggled to carry it over the fence. She almost fell twice. I wish she had. But no, the watermelon made it over. She waddled away, victorious. I gritted my teeth. This wasn't just theft. This was personal. I stormed across the street, fury burning through me. I pounded on Karen's door. Nothing. I rang the doorbell. Silence. Then I heard shuffling, followed by the slow creak of the door opening just enough for Karen's judgmental, squinting face to peek through. "Oh," she said, blinking like she had just been woken from a pleasant dream. "It's you. Where's my watermelon?" I growled, holding up my phone, ready to show her the security footage. Karen scoffed, feigning innocence. "Watermelon? What watermelon?" I clenched my fist. "The one you stole from my yard last night. You're on camera, Karen." She had the nerve to laugh. "Oh, that poor thing was just sitting there, abandoned. You left it outside all alone. I rescued it." "Rescued it?" I repeated, my eye twitching. "You stole it." Tomato, she said, waving a dismissive hand. "Honestly, I did you a favor. Watermelons are meant to be enjoyed, not hoarded." I took a deep breath. "Give it back." Karen sighed dramatically, as if I were inconveniencing her. "Well, that's a problem, dear. I've already planned a lovely brunch for my guests today, and my watermelon salad is the star of the show." My brain short-circuited. "Why your watermelon salad?" "Karen, it's my watermelon." She shrugged. "Possession is 9/10 of the law." I was going to explode. I could feel it. The rage was bubbling up inside me like a shaking soda can. She was so smug, so untouchable, so confident that she could get away with anything. And the worst part? She usually did. But not this time. I took a step back, inhaling deeply. I couldn't just take it back. She'd call the cops and spin some ridiculous story. I needed something better, something that would make her regret this theft forever. An idea slowly started forming in my mind, slowly at first, then taking full shape. A plan so devious, so diabolical, that even Karen wouldn't see it coming. I forced a smile. "You know what, Karen? You're right. Enjoy your watermelon salad." She frowned slightly, thrown off by my sudden change in tone. "Oh, well, thank you. I will." I turned on my heel and walked away, already making a mental shopping list. Step 1, buy another watermelon. Step 2, inject it with the spiciest hot sauce known to mankind. Step 3, find a way to make sure Karen gets it. I smiled to myself as I entered my house, rubbing my hands together like a cartoon villain. She wanted a free watermelon? Oh, she was going to get one, all right. And when she did, I'd be there, front row seat, watching her entire world burn. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at a fresh watermelon sitting on the counter. It was big, ripe, and ready to become the greatest instrument of revenge the neighborhood had ever seen. Karen thought she had won. She thought she could just walk into my yard, steal my prized fruit, and rub it in my face like it was just another Tuesday. But she had underestimated me. She had underestimated my will. This was no longer about the watermelon. This was about principle. It was about justice. And if justice had a flavor, it was about to be the spiciest thing Karen had ever tasted. I grabbed my laptop and started searching for the hottest hot sauce known to mankind. I needed something beyond regular hot sauce, something that would make her regret every bad decision she had ever made. Within minutes, I found it. Carolina Reaper extract. The name alone sent shivers down my spine. This wasn't just any hot sauce. This was pure fire in a bottle. It was rated at over 2 million Scoville units. To put that into perspective, a jalapeno was nothing compared to this. This was what people used in extreme spicy food challenges. This was what ruined lives. And soon, it was what would ruin Karen's brunch. I rushed to the store and bought a fresh watermelon, along with a syringe set and gloves, because I wasn't about to risk getting any of this hellfire liquid on my skin. As I stood in line at checkout, an old lady next to me peered into my cart and gave me a knowing nod. "That's a mighty fine watermelon you got there, son," she said. I smiled. If only she knew. Back home, I set up my workstation like I was performing life-saving surgery. I wore gloves, a face mask, and even protective goggles. This wasn't just a prank. This was art. Carefully, I loaded the syringe with the fiery red liquid and injected it deep into the watermelon in multiple places. I made sure the hot sauce spread evenly, mixing with the natural juices so there would be no suspicious patches. Every bite would be an explosion of unbearable heat, and by the time Karen realized what was happening, it would be too late. After sealing the injection points with a little wax to make it look completely untouched, I took a step back and admired my creation. It was perfect, a seemingly innocent, juicy watermelon with a hidden inferno inside. The only question now was how to get it to Karen without making it obvious. Then the answer came to me like divine inspiration. The neighborhood free food market. Every week, people put out extra produce for others to take freely. Karen, being Karen, always took more than her fair share. She considered it her personal shopping aisle. If I placed the watermelon there, she would take it. There was no doubt about that. That evening, under the cover of dusk, I casually walked over to the community food table and placed the spicy thyme bomb right in the middle. Then I stepped back, hiding behind a nearby bush. I didn't have to wait long. Less than 10 minutes later, Karen came waddling down the street, wearing her usual oversized sunglasses and carrying an empty shopping bag. She scanned the table with the focus of a predator. As expected, her eyes immediately locked onto the perfectly placed watermelon. She reached out, hesitated for only a second, then snatched it up like it was her birthright. I bit my lip to keep from laughing. It was almost too easy. She struggled to carry the massive fruit back to her house, nearly dropping it twice, but she made it. My mission was complete. Now all I had to do was wait for the fireworks. The next morning, I woke up feeling like a kid on Christmas. Today was the day Karen had her big brunch planned. It was going to be glorious. I grabbed my binoculars, not because I was a creep, but because I wanted front row seats to her downfall. Perched at my window, I watched as Karen set up an outdoor dining table in her backyard. A few of her equally annoying friends arrived, dressed in fancy outfits, sipping lemonade and pretending to be high society in the middle of the suburbs. Then it happened. Karen carried out the watermelon like a trophy, placing it in the center of the table. She dramatically sliced it open, revealing its perfectly normal, juicy red interior. She was smug. She thought she had gotten away with it. She had no idea what was coming. She handed out generous slices to each of her guests, saving the biggest piece for herself. She lifted it up, made some obnoxious toast about good food and good company, and then she took a huge bite. For a second, nothing happened. Then her face changed. Her eyes widened, her lips trembled, her entire body stiffened. Then she screamed. It was not just any scream. It was the sound of 1,000 suns igniting in her mouth all at once. She dropped the watermelon slice like it had personally offended her and launched herself backward out of her chair. The guests, confused, took their own bites, and one by one, they erupted into chaos. One woman spit her bite across the table. Another sprinted toward the garden hose. And one poor soul threw herself into the kiddie pool, frantically gulping water. Karen, meanwhile, was having a full-blown meltdown. She ran into the house, knocking over chairs, desperately clawing at her tongue. Through my binoculars, I could see her frantically chugging a bottle of milk, but it was useless. Carolina Reaper extract didn't just go away. It lingered like the ghost of bad decisions past. Then came the grand finale. Karen stumbled back outside, face redder than a fire truck, gasping for air, and yelled at her guests. Who did this? I lost it. I had to bury my face in a pillow to keep from laughing out loud. Her friends were betrayed. Her pride was shattered. And the best part? I had everything on camera. My hidden GoPro, discreetly placed in a bush, had recorded every glorious second. Karen had finally been served a taste of her own medicine, literally, and the entire neighborhood was about to witness her downfall in full HD. The neighborhood had never seen chaos like this before. Karen's backyard, once the setting for her overly pretentious brunches, now looked like a battlefield. Her guests were running around in full panic mode, knocking over chairs, gulping water straight from the garden hose, and fanning their mouths as if it would somehow make a difference. One woman had climbed into the kiddie pool, arms spread wide like she had just been baptized in the waters of regret. Another guest was rolling on the grass, face contorted in pure agony. The air was filled with shrieks, coughs, and the occasional unintelligible scream of betrayal. But Karen was the true star of the show. She had gone from her usual smug, self-important demeanor to a complete disaster. Her once meticulously styled hair was now a frazzled mess, her makeup smeared from the tears streaming down her face. She stumbled out of the house, gasping, red-faced, her mouth hanging open as if she were trying to inhale the entire atmosphere in one desperate gulp. She held a carton of milk in one hand, but it was useless. No amount of dairy could fight off the Carolina Reaper's wrath. I watched from my window, completely mesmerized. It was beautiful, like watching a Shakespearean tragedy, except funnier. Karen clutched at her throat, waving her free hand around wildly, as if signaling for divine intervention. She locked eyes with one of her guests, an older woman in a ridiculous sun hat who had just recovered enough to form words again. What did you put in this?" the woman wheezed, her voice hoarse from the burn. Karen tried to speak, but only managed a strangled, choking sound. She slammed the empty milk carton down on the table and reached for a pitcher of lemonade. But the second the acidic drink touched her tongue, she let out a sound that could only be described as an ungodly screech. She smacked the glass away, sending it crashing onto the patio. "Who did this?" she finally managed to yell, her voice cracking like a radio losing signal. Silence fell over the backyard. The guests, still recovering, turned to each other in confusion. Some of them clearly thought it was a mistake, but Karen knew. Deep in her fiery, suffering soul, she knew that this was no accident. Her eyes darted around the yard, scanning for a suspect. Then, slowly, her gaze drifted across the street, right to my house. I ducked just in time, my heart pounding. Had she seen me? I wasn't sure. I peeked out again, just enough to see Karen's nostrils flaring like an enraged bull. She wiped her mouth aggressively, muttering something under her breath, and then, as if suddenly remembering her guests, she forced a weak smile. "I think the watermelon may have gone bad," she croaked, trying to salvage what was left of her dignity. The woman in the sun hat shot her a look. "Gone bad. Karen, my tongue feels like it's been set on fire and dipped in lava. This has not gone bad. This is an act of war." Karen's eye twitched. She clenched her fists, still trying to keep up appearances. Let's all just calm down." Another guest, an older man who had yet to say a word, stood up from his seat, face still red, and held up his phone. "Karen," he said, his voice eerily calm. I looked it up. "This is Carolina Reaper extract. Someone put the hottest pepper in the world inside that watermelon." Gasps rippled through the group. Karen's mouth fell open slightly, her expression twisting from confusion to rage. This was sabotage, she hissed. Now she wasn't just embarrassed. She was furious. Her fingers curled around the edges of the table, knuckles white. The once light-hearted brunch had turned into a full-blown crime scene, and she was looking for someone to blame. And I had a strong feeling she was about to make a beeline for me. I stepped away from the window, already thinking of my next move. I had planned for her reaction, but even I hadn't expected this level of carnage. I needed to stay ahead, keep the upper hand. Just as I was strategizing, my phone buzzed. A message from my neighbor, Mr. Rodriguez, who had also been watching the chaos unfold from his porch. "Rodriguez, did you see what happened to Karen?" "Me? Oh yeah. Tragic." "Rodriguez, you wouldn't happen to know anything about that watermelon, would you?" "Me? Who, me? Of course not. I'm just an innocent bystander." I stared at my phone for a second before adding one more message. "Me? But if someone did do that, they'd be a hero." Rodriguez sent back a laughing emoji. He knew. He definitely knew. Down on the street, Karen had gone into full detective mode. She was pacing back and forth in her yard, calling someone, probably the cops, or, worse, the HOA. Her guests had begun to leave, some of them still groaning from the after effects of the heat bomb. A few shot her dirty looks as they walked past, clearly upset that their pleasant brunch had turned into a reenactment of Dante's Inferno. I watched as Karen hung up the call, her expression murderous. She turned sharply on her heel and stormed toward her house, slamming the door behind her. I sat back in my chair, exhaling slowly. She was planning something. That much was obvious. The question was what? Not that it mattered. I had the ultimate advantage, the footage. I reached over to my laptop and pulled up the hidden camera feed. The small, discreet GoPro I had placed in the bushes had captured everything in crisp, high-definition detail. The moment Karen had taken the first bite, the exact second she had realized what was happening, the chaos that had followed, it was all there, and it was gold. This wasn't just a prank. This was history. The only question now was how I was going to use it. Part of me wanted to upload it immediately. The world deserved to see Karen's fall from grace. But another part of me knew I had to be strategic. If I played this right, I could drag this out, make it even more painful for her. As I stared at the footage, a grin slowly spread across my face. Karen thought she had won when she stole my watermelon, but in reality, the game had only just begun. Karen was too quiet. That was my first warning. The woman who had just set a neighborhood record for the most dramatic meltdown in history had gone completely silent after storming into her house. No angry stomping, no shouting from her front porch, no exaggerated threats. Just silence. And that meant she was planning something. I kept my eyes on her house, waiting for any signs of movement. A few of her guests were still lingering outside, whispering among themselves. One woman, still fanning her mouth, shook her head before getting into her car and driving away. Another man paced near the sidewalk, checking his phone, probably texting about the disaster brunch that no one would ever forget. Then, slowly, one by one, they all left, leaving Karen alone to stew in her humiliation. I checked my phone again. No new messages from Rodriguez, but I didn't need confirmation. The entire neighborhood had probably heard about what happened by now. It was only a matter of time before the story spread, twisting and turning into a legend of its own. Karen, the queen of entitlement, finally getting a taste of karma in the form of liquid fire. Then, as I predicted, her front door flew open. Karen stormed out, phone clutched in her hand, her face still flushed from the heat-induced trauma she had suffered. She marched across the street with the kind of determination that could only mean trouble. I barely had enough time to prepare before my doorbell rang. No, rang was too polite. It blared, over and over, Karen's frustration seeping through the button like she thought she could make it explode. I took a deep breath, straightened my shirt, and pulled the door open to find Karen standing there, nostrils flaring, her free hand planted firmly on her hip. "You," she spat. I raised an eyebrow. "Me? Don't play dumb," she snapped, waving her phone at me. "I know you did this." I leaned against the door frame, doing my best to look confused. "Did what exactly?" Karen's face twisted with rage. "The watermelon," she hissed. "You poisoned it." I blinked. "Poisoned? Karen, I think you mean seasoned." That set her off. She took a step closer, jabbing a finger at my chest. "You think this is funny?" My guests nearly died. I crossed my arms. "Oh, I don't think that's true. They were very alive when they ran screaming from your backyard." Her lips pressed together so tightly they almost disappeared. "You're going to pay for this." "Oh." I tilted my head. "How exactly?" Karen smirked, a dangerous glint in her eyes. "I called the cops." That threw me for half a second, but I kept my expression neutral. "Oh good. Did you report yourself for theft while you were at it?" Her smirk faltered. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and opened the security footage app. A few taps later, there she was, caught in perfect night vision sneaking into my yard at 2 a.m., dragging my watermelon away like some kind of fruit burglar. I turned the screen toward her, watching as the color drained from her face. "I'm sure they'll be thrilled to see this," I said, tapping the screen. "Breaking and entering, theft. You might even make the local news." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a malfunctioning ventriloquist dummy. She had walked into this fight fully expecting to win, but now she was cornered, and she knew it. Her eyes darted left and right as if looking for an escape route. Then she straightened her spine, lifting her chin. "That doesn't matter," she said, trying to regain control. "You still tampered with food. That's illegal." I shrugged. Not really. I put out a watermelon in a public food-sharing market. If someone happened to take it and happened to get an unexpected surprise, that's not my problem. Karen's eye twitched. She knew she was grasping at straws. Her confidence wavered, her hand tightening around her phone like she wished she could crush it. Then she switched tactics. I'll sue you. I sighed. For what? Emotional distress? Intentional harm? Something? I'll find a lawyer. I laughed, actually laughed. Karen was one of those people who thought threatening legal action would scare everyone into submission. But this time, she was up against someone who had done his homework. Well, Karen, I said, putting my phone away. Good luck with that. But you should know, if you sue me, I'll be countersuing for theft and trespassing. And since I actually have video evidence, I like my odds. Her mouth opened again, but I didn't give her a chance to respond. Oh, and one more thing, I added, smiling just enough to let her know I had more up my sleeve. I recorded everything from your little brunch. I'm sure the internet would love to see the queen of the neighborhood running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Karen's face went from red to white in half a second. She took a shaky step back, gripping her phone like it was a lifeline. You wouldn't I? She hesitated, clearly trying to calculate her next move. But there was no winning here. She was outmatched, outplayed, and completely out of options. I could see the gears turning in her head, the slow realization that she had lost. For a moment, I thought she might actually apologize. But then, in classic Karen fashion, she let out a loud huff, spun on her heel, and stomped away, muttering under her breath. She reached her house, slammed the door so hard the windows rattled, and disappeared inside. I stood there for a moment, enjoying the sweet silence she had left behind. Then I pulled out my phone and opened my messages. Me. Well, that was fun. Rodriguez, please tell me you recorded it. Me, of course I did. Every single glorious second. Rodriguez, upload it. I glanced at Karen's house, debating. Oh, I would upload it. But not yet. No, I had something bigger in mind. Karen had just made a crucial mistake. She had declared war. And if she thought today was bad, she had no idea what was coming next. Karen had gone quiet again, and that meant she was scheming. I knew she wasn't the type to let something like this go. Her ego wouldn't allow it. She had been humiliated, not just in front of her friends, but in front of the entire neighborhood. And if I knew Karen, she wasn't about to sit back and accept defeat. No, she was going to try and get even. The question was how. I kept my guard up, watching her house for any signs of movement. For a full day, nothing happened. No dramatic outbursts, no petty complaints, no Karen storming across the street with some new ridiculous accusation. But that was exactly what made me suspicious. She was planning something, and whatever it was, I had a feeling it wasn't going to be subtle. Then, early the next morning, I saw it, a package sitting on my porch. No delivery truck had stopped by, and I hadn't ordered anything. That alone was enough to put me on high alert. I grabbed a stick, nudging the box carefully. It didn't explode, so that was a good sign. But when I finally opened it, I was met with something both ridiculous and incredibly petty. A watermelon. A whole, fresh watermelon sitting inside the box with a handwritten note taped to it. I unfolded the note, already bracing myself for Karen's nonsense. Hope you enjoy a normal watermelon for once. Maybe next time, don't act like a child. I stared at the note, then at the watermelon, then back at the note. Was this an attempt at an insult? A weird peace offering? Or was Karen so out of ideas that she thought sending me a fruit would somehow make things even? Whatever her reasoning, I wasn't buying it. I grabbed the watermelon and placed it on my counter. Something about this felt off. Karen wasn't the type to back down, but she was also not the type to send gifts, even passive-aggressive ones. I thought about just tossing it, but then curiosity got the better of me. If Karen had done something to this watermelon, I needed to know. I grabbed a knife and carefully cut it open. At first glance, it looked normal. The bright red flesh, the usual black seeds, nothing suspicious. But then I noticed the smell. It was wrong. Instead of the sweet, fresh scent of watermelon, there was something sour, almost acidic. I took a small spoon and scooped up a bit of the juice, giving it a cautious sniff. That's when it hit me. Vinegar. Karen had tampered with the watermelon. I let out a short laugh, shaking my head. She had tried to turn my own prank against me, hoping I'd take a bite and suffer through the same kind of misery she had endured. But the difference between me and Karen? I wasn't stupid enough to trust anything that came from her. I picked up my phone and sent a quick text to Rodriguez. Me. Karen just sent me a watermelon. I think she messed with it. Rodriguez, of course she did. What's in it? Me. Smells like vinegar. Probably tried to ruin the taste. Rodriguez, wow. That's incredibly lame. Me, I know, right? It's almost sad. I put the phone down and stared at the watermelon again. Karen had tried to get revenge, and this was the best she could come up with? It was embarrassing. After everything that had happened, after the chaos, the meltdowns, the public humiliation, this was her grand comeback? A ruined watermelon and a passive-aggressive note. Then I had an idea. If Karen wanted to play dirty, I'd let her. But I wasn't just going to ignore this. No, I was going to make her regret it. I set up my phone, angling it just right before hitting record. I held up the note first, reading it out loud in my best mocking Karen voice. Then I turned the camera to the watermelon, cutting another slice to emphasize the foul smell seeping out of it. So, Karen decided to send me a little gift, I said, keeping my voice light. Apparently, she thinks I need a normal watermelon. How thoughtful. I lifted a spoonful of the vinegar-soaked juice and made a disgusted face. Only problem? This thing smells like a chemical experiment gone wrong. Guess someone just can't take a joke. I ended the recording and immediately sent it to Rodriguez. Me. This is going to be hilarious. Rodriguez, you posting it? Me. Oh, not yet. I have a better idea. Instead of uploading it straight to social media, I sent the video directly to Karen. No context, no message, just the footage of me exposing her pathetic attempt at vengeance. And then I waited. It didn't take long. Less than 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Karen, what is your problem? I smirked, taking my time before responding. Me. Just letting you know your little prank failed. But hey, nice try. Karen, it was a joke. Me. Oh, so now it's a joke? Didn't seem like you were laughing when you tried to call the cops on me. Silence. I could almost hear the sound of Karen grinding her teeth from across the street. She hated this. Hated that I had turned the tables again. Hated that she had failed again. And that was exactly what made it all worth it. But just as I was about to enjoy my victory, another message popped up. Karen, you think this is over? I frowned, rereading her words. There it was. The real Karen. The one who couldn't stand losing. The one who would rather burn the entire neighborhood to the ground than admit defeat. I sighed, shaking my head. She just never learned. I locked my phone and stretched, staring out the window at Karen's house. If she wanted to keep this going, I'd be ready. I wasn't the one who started this war, but I was definitely going to be the one who finished it. I knew Karen wouldn't give up. It was in her nature. Losing wasn't an option for her, and humiliation was something she couldn't tolerate. After my little video response to her pathetic vinegar-infused watermelon stunt, I expected retaliation. The only question was when. For a full day, nothing happened. I kept a close eye on her house, but there was no sign of her. No angry stomping across the street. No wild accusations. No Karen marching up to my door with another empty threat. It was unsettling. Karen wasn't the type to sit back quietly. She was brewing something, and whatever it was, I had to be ready for it. Then, late that evening, I got my answer. My phone buzzed with a notification from a neighborhood group chat. I wasn't the most active participant, but tonight, I had a feeling Karen was involved. I opened the chat, and there it was, a long, dramatic message from Karen herself. Hello, neighbors. I wanted to take a moment to address something very serious. As you may have heard, I was recently the victim of a cruel and malicious prank involving a poisoned watermelon. I won't name names, but I think we all know who did it. This kind of behavior is dangerous and has no place in our community. I will be reporting this incident to the HOA and pursuing legal action. If anyone has experienced similar harassment, please come forward. We must stand together against this kind of behavior. I almost dropped my phone from laughing. Poisoned watermelon? Legal action? Karen was doubling down on her victim act. I scrolled through the responses. Most of them were confused, a few supportive, but one in particular caught my attention. Rodriguez had replied with a single gif of someone eating popcorn. Classic. I leaned back in my chair, shaking my head. Karen was actually trying to turn the entire neighborhood against me. But she had no proof, and even worse for her, I had all the proof in the world. Before I could even think about how to respond, another message came in. Also, I will be organizing a community meeting this weekend to discuss harassment and neighborhood safety. This is an important issue, and I hope you will all attend. Oh, this was going to be good. I knew exactly what she was trying to do. She was hoping to publicly shame me, to turn my neighbors against me, to play the victim in front of an audience. But what she didn't realize was that she had set herself up for the perfect downfall. I pulled up the footage on my laptop, scanning through the golden moments from her fiery meltdown. The dramatic screams, the running around like a headless chicken, the desperate attempt to wash the spice away. It was all there, captured in perfect high definition. I clicked the upload button. Within minutes, the video was live, titled "Karen Stole My Watermelon," so I gave her a spicy surprise. The response was immediate. Likes, comments, and shares exploded. People loved it. The combination of justice, comedy, and pure karma was irresistible. I refreshed the page every few minutes, watching as the numbers skyrocketed. And then, just as expected, my phone buzzed again. "Karen, take that video down now." I grinned, taking my time before replying. "Me, which video? The one of you stealing from my yard? Or the one where you and your guests turned into human volcanoes?" She typed so fast her next message was almost unreadable. "Karen, you know which one. I will sue you for defamation." I leaned back in my chair, laughing. "Me, defamation? Karen, the video is just raw footage. It's literally what happened. No edits, no voiceover. Just you stealing my watermelon and facing the consequences. If you want to sue someone, maybe start with yourself." Silence. She had no argument. She had nothing. Then her next message came in. "Karen, fine. You think you've won. You haven't. This isn't over." I sighed. Of course. She couldn't just take the loss and move on. Karen had no idea how to quit. But at this point, she had lost everything. Her credibility, her dignity, and any last shred of power she thought she had over the neighborhood. The next morning, as I stepped outside to grab my mail, I noticed something strange. Karen's house was unusually quiet. No passive-aggressive music blasting. No forced fake greetings to passing neighbors. Then I saw it. A for sale sign. I nearly dropped my coffee. Karen was leaving? I stared at the sign, barely believing my eyes. Was it possible? Had she finally been defeated so badly that she was actually packing up and running away? A part of me wanted to celebrate. Another part of me felt a little disappointed. After all, our back-and-forth war had become something of a legend. Would life in the neighborhood even be as entertaining without her constant ridiculousness? But then I reminded myself of everything she had done. The stolen packages, the fake complaints, the way she treated people like they were beneath her. No, this wasn't a loss. This was victory. Rodriguez walked over, hands in his pockets, staring at the sign with the same mix of disbelief and satisfaction. "Well," he said, sipping his coffee, "looks like you finally broke her." I chuckled, shaking my head. I wasn't trying to break her, just trying to teach her a lesson. Rodriguez smirked. "Well, lesson learned." Karen didn't leave right away, of course. That would have been too easy. She spent the next few weeks trying to sell her house, probably hoping she could escape the embarrassment and find a fresh start somewhere else. But the best part? Everyone in the neighborhood knew what she had done. Whenever potential buyers showed up to look at her house, someone, not me, of course, would casually mention the viral video. The story spread, and Karen's house stayed on the market way longer than she wanted. By the time she finally managed to sell it, she was practically slinking away in defeat. No dramatic final words, no last-minute revenge, just quiet acceptance. The day the moving truck pulled away, I stood on my porch, watching as she left for good. No more Karen. No more HOA wars. No more stolen watermelons. I exhaled, feeling the weight of victory settle over me. Then my phone buzzed with a message. "Unknown number. You think you've won. This isn't over." I stared at the message, my lips curling into a slow smirk. Karen had moved, but somehow, I had a feeling she wasn't gone for good.